Like the whole 9 to 5 thing. You can't compare apples to oranges. But yeah, I'm sure most people would rather stream and do like stupid shit than roofing or construction for like 8 to 10 hours a day, obviously. But if you're comparing it to something that's somewhat close to that, like an office job, it's relatively the same. You can even argue the 9 to 5 is probably more stressful because you have a boss that you have to report to. When streaming, you are your own boss. So then you can argue, well, since you're your own boss, you're not getting a paycheck next week unless you go to work and do it yourself. You have that on your back. Everyone's biased.
Yeah, everyone's got their own idea of what is difficult and what is not difficult for them to deal with. You know, certain stresses bother other people and some don't. I'm sure there's streamers who are probably stressed all the time based on their viewership and the content and quality of it. And then there's other streamers who are probably just like, no big deal. Like, we'll turn on the stream and we'll see how it goes.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 228 of the COD Casuals. We're your host, Justin.
And I'm Mike.
How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right. Hanging in there. We were just complaining about our woes with the heat right now. It is it's unbelievable. Like, when I was in my car, I didn't tell you before, but I was like running some errands. I left the windows open, and then like the temperature in my car, it said it was 104. And I went to the grocery store prior to that, and I left my stuff in there for like 5 minutes. And now I'm panicking thinking about it. I'm like, dude, is my food fucked? Because it was sitting in a 100-degree car for like 5 minutes. I'm like, I had eggs in there. I hope everything's okay.
You're good. 5-minute rule.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say to myself. But no, I'm doing good. It's but we are definitely going through a heat wave, bro. It is it is horrendous right now.
Little heat wave.
Yeah,
it's only gonna last. It's only gonna last like 2-3 days, really.
Yeah.
So
now it could be a lot worse. But I always say to myself that I prefer it where it's cold, you know? Like, I would rather it be cold than hot. But then when I'm in situations like this, that's where I'm always on the other end. I'm like, dude, I wish it was winter right now. Like, what I would do for that, you know? But I think, again, we said it, dude. We just needed like 55, 65-degree weather, like, and nice and like sunny out. But we never got that.
Yeah. I mean, it's days like this where I'm like, man, if I had a pool.
Yeah.
If I had a pool after this, I'd just be standing in that. Sitting there. Like, probably for the rest of the day.
But instead, all we're doing is just taking cold showers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, for me, I don't want to go out and do anything. I just, like, for most of the day today, I've literally just been gaming. I'm caught up on some more COD. I haven't played COD in, like, honestly, it's probably been like 5-6 days I haven't played. So I hopped back on. It's kind of so. I played some of the new maps, which was nice. Got it back under myself. But dude, I'll tell you, like, on the COD thing, it's weird because now the amount of people that I run into who are level 1000 is insane.
Insane. Yeah. I'm sure at this point.
Yeah. Like, I don't know why it's been recent that I've run into these, you know, clans. I mean, they don't have the all same clan tag and everything, but you can tell they're all boys because they're all like the same prestige emblem and they're all level 1000. And it still blows my mind how there's such a discrepancy in the difficult or how good those guys are. Some of them are like insane. Like, there was one of those lobbies I just backed out. I'm like, no, I'm not doing this because like everyone in my team left and we were getting fried. And then there's another guy who's level 1000 and he's terrible. Yeah. And I still, to this day, I don't understand how you could put in all that time and still be bad.
Well, so I had a conversation over the weekend with someone, and we were talking about COD, like Black Ops 6 and stuff, and how Black Ops 7 is coming out this year. And he was like, "Oh yeah, like, you play Warzone a lot?" I was like, "Nah, I'm just a multiplayer guy." And he's like, "Well, if you play Warzone, you get way more XP." I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's cheating." Right. And he's like, "What?" I'm like, yeah, all these Warzone people, you know, you get a ton of XP playing, and then you go into multiplayer, and yeah, you earned it technically, but, you know, you can tell you're a Warzone player. That person, Warzone player.
Yeah.
Or they just play a ton and they're still bad. But again, it's just so hard to believe for me. Like, if you play that much, you can't be that bad.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, I get not being like really good at the game, but like, all right, you know, +2, +3.
Right.
like KD.
But I will say though, there that is an extreme amount of time to play that game and to be mid. Don't you
Yeah.
think?
Oh no, I agree.
Like,
Yeah.
cause how many days you think it takes, like, actual like, not someone who's, like, like, the Doom the Race or, like, when Optic did that
Mhm.
race to, Master Prestige. You're talking about, like, normal people who start at level 1,
Mhm.
get to Master Prestige, and then get all the way to the 1,000.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna be
Yeah.
talking probably what, over 20 days?
Oh yeah, probably well over 20. Like a normal person, like
Yeah.
and by normal I mean like you're not hopping on every day. You're probably hopping on playing like an hour or two,
Yeah.
like 2, 3 times a week, if
Yeah.
that. Like
You gotta
that's
be
what I consider
trying.
normal. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're playing during double XP, yeah, like easily 20 plus days.
Right. And to think that you put in all that time, like I've been playing Burnout 3 on the PS2 and I
Mhm.
just hit over a day. And I'm like, yeah, man, because I've played this game and I'm solid at it. Like I've gotten pretty far into it. Like I'm way better at that game now. And that's
Mhm.
after a day. It's like, dude, to think that these people have over 20 days on COD and they're still like compared to you and I who don't have anywhere near that amount of time,
Yeah.
you're still that bad at the game. I'm like, man, it's not even about Call of Duty. It's just about the game in general. Like,
It's
how
either
can you
yeah.
you put
It's
in all
either
that time to be
yeah.
mid?
It's either the game or they're not learning, you know? You join pubs and it sounds nerdy, but are you learning from your games? You
Right.
know?
Right.
Because that was an advantage you had back in the day. Like, you know, you
Mhm.
would join, there was no skill base. You joined a lobby, you got pounded like hard.
Right.
And then then you would be able to do that later on. But you would learn from your games and like
Yeah.
what you would need to do. Now at the skill base, it's like you're all matched up with people relatively on the same skill base as you. And are you really learning? If you're already like bad at the game and you're playing with other people that are just bad, you're not getting any better.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's obviously that's like the whole thing, right? As to why you'd want to do it. If you're going to be
Mhm,
playing, you hopefully are like the skill base should work that you're playing people who are slightly better than you every time.
mhm,
Um, but even for myself, like today playing it, the first game I played, I absolutely cook because I,
mhm,
I don't know how it really works if they have no like records of me playing in recent times. So they're like, okay, we'll just throw him a random match and then we'll use that to assess where he's at.
mhm,
But it's like first game I play, I do like really, really well. Second game, I play all right, like it's nothing crazy. Then the third game, I literally am playing the God Squad, who's like they've been up all night playing,
mhm,
and they absolutely fried me. I'm like, dude, why? Like, come on, I can't beat these guys. Like, I'm by myself and I'm playing a party of 6. Like, forget
mhm.
it, you know. So those people, I maybe they've been in those situations so many times and like you said they just don't learn and they don't take anything from it and they
Mhm.
just continue to play and play, which if that's the case, man, that's a long 20 days of you being a mid player to get
Yeah.
to level 1,000. Like,
See, I think the game realizes and they'll throw them like a freebie,
right,
because of the skill base.
to make them
But
feel better.
yeah, to keep them, no, keep playing.
Yeah.
Because then you'll get like a game or two where you're playing pretty good and then declines for a couple games and you're back up, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that just shows the skill gap, obviously. Like the good players will only get better. Because if you're playing against like really good players, you're eventually gonna get better too. Because
Yeah.
you're learning different tendencies and how they play, and maybe you'll apply that to how you play. Uh,
Yeah.
which I mean, that's essentially what ranked is, right? Like, but if you're always playing against mid players the entire time, or just bad players in general, you're gonna think you're a god.
Right. And it's also too like to what you said earlier about the type of game that you're playing. If you're from Warzone and then you go and play multiplayer,
Yeah,
most people
different.
wouldn't think that that's that big of a difference. But
Mhm,
I'd say it for myself, like I'm sure I'm terrible at Warzone compared to just playing like ranked or playing standard pubs.
mhm,
I have a shot, like, and that's kind of the main thing that'll help me, but I have no strategy. I don't know what's going on the map. Like
mhm,
all those things that make Warzone what it is, a lot of those things don't apply in just pubs, and same thing
mhm.
with ranked. Like you get the people who are absolute pub stompers, but then when they go to play in ranked, they don't
Mhm.
understand that that's not how you play it really. You don't just
Yeah.
run around like a psycho trying to get kills, like it's about teamwork. So
Yep.
then they may be okay in one thing and terrible in another, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Completely different strategy. Like,
Right.
I will say, I think going from multiplayer to like ranked, obviously, or Warzone is a lot easier than going from Warzone to multiplayer or ranked. Um, I mean, there are a bunch of different strategies in Warzone, but I would say like the main ones, like you just have to keep moving, and or you can hide. I mean, hiding works too, but as long as you have a shot across like all three, like modes, basically, you'll be fine. It'll translate, but yeah, I think it's a lot harder for people in Warzone to go from a map, like a big map, into multiplayer and especially ranked
Yeah.
because you can't just run around and shoot.
Right. Yeah, you get fried. I mean, and
Yeah.
it's the same concept of when we go and play other shooters, like
Hmm.
going to play Fortnite, or I remember when I went and played Siege for the
Yeah.
first time. The guys that I was playing with, they were like my friends from school. They were like, "Oh, dude, this like you're terrible. Like, what are you doing?" They're
Yeah.
they're like getting so annoyed that I don't know the strategy part of it. But
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
over here. I'm like, bro, I got more kills than you, and like did this. But they're
Yeah.
it like it doesn't matter, dude. Like that literally is not what it's all about. Like
Hmm.
they have a certain part of that game that's a huge part of it, and I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. It's like when we play ranked and then like the enemy team is doing something that like they're not supposed to do, so it catches you off guard
right, right,
because you can tell they don't play ranked together.
yeah, yeah,
Like, which sounds weird, but we're this so late into the game where everybody knows what rotation is, like what you have to do to set up, you know, and everyone does it. But then you get like four people that haven't played ranked and maybe they are good and they're just running around like taking weird routes and
right.
they're just doing stuff that you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, and it confuses you because you're just not used to it.
Yeah, because it shouldn't work.
Right, right. But they throw you off so much. You're like, dude,
Yeah,
what are they doing right now? And that's the whole thing. They don't know what they're doing, but
exactly. Yeah,
they're just getting
yeah,
kills and getting you off the hill. You're like, dude, I do not understand this.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Now it's definitely it's a tough thing to be dealing with if you're going to try to jump from one side of Call of Duty to the next. I don't really know if there are too many people that have done that before because I know that's always a debate. They talk
Hmm.
about, Warzone couldn't do it in the CDL and vice versa.
Hmm.
But I'm surprised there isn't really anybody who's made that jump before, and like
Hmm.
really succeeded in like competitive. Now, there's plenty of those guys like, TP and all of them. They all go and stream Warzone, but
Hmm.
to actually like enter and be on like a professional Warzone team
Yeah.
under an org, I don't
Hmm.
know if anyone's done that before.
Tommy has rated.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a former pro, and again, I'm just coming from multiplayer Warzone. It's a lot easier than the other way around. People can,
So
you know,
he's done it for us, but we haven't gotten anybody from the Warzone side to hold up
yeah,
their
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
what's that? Blast did that too.
Yeah, he did as well.
Yeah,
But do they play I know Tommy does because he's under Thieves, right?
he
And then
was. He's
yeah,
not
it
with
was.
these anymore. Yeah.
And then Blast, I don't know who he's under.
He was under. Actually, I think he's with these now.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I think you're right. I do remember that. Which I like honestly, I didn't know that a lot of these teams just shows how like I'm not involved or think about Warzone
Hmm.
at all. That a lot of these orgs had separate Warzone teams
Yeah.
that competed
Well,
for
and the other thing too is like these guys were great pros, but they weren't like the Sims and the Beesies, at the top of the
right.
top. And the fact that they're not, and like they weren't even when the CDL started, right? They weren't part of
Yeah, they
a
weren't even in it.
professional
Yeah.
team technically. And then they go over to Warzone and they run it,
Yeah.
like run shit over there. I think that shows like a pretty big skill gap,
Yeah. I think so too. I
Yeah.
I think again having Blast and Tommy over there kind of says it. I
Yeah.
think I think if Simp and Abizi and Salium, if they called it and went over to Warzone,
Hmm.
they would absolutely run the show. Like they
Yeah.
would immediately be the best Warzone players that are out there right now. I
The
think it
the
would be really hard for people to compete with them.
the CDL would take over Warzone if That was the thing.
Yeah.
If they went over there. But the thing is, it's never going to happen because, well, unless there's money, right? But there's no reason for Warzone players to ever switch over to CDL. Because in terms of like prize winnings, they're going to win way more in Warzone compared to CDL.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure they have insane practice too, but COD practice is nuts. It's just hours and hours every single day.
Yeah,
So,
and also too, people like I don't think people really want to go and watch that, you know, like they don't want to go and watch the scrims a ton. Like compare, I don't want to say that entirely because that's not totally true. But if you're going to be streaming scrims compared to someone who's also popular and going to be streaming Warzone, like Warzone more than likely is going to be like the popular route to go. You know,
yeah,
you,
there's
you
more
could
opportunity with Warzone.
yeah, exactly. You could do so much more with it. I mean, look at all these guys like I just mentioned and we talked about. They streaming it all the time and making so much money off it because of how popular Warzone is. You know, again, I go on Twitch this morning and I go on YouTube. The amount of people that are in like the COD space that we're going to be seeing this weekend talking about it, none of them are playing it. They're
Yeah,
all playing like Dead by Daylight, where everyone's playing now. Was it a CS and then Splitgate 2? Like no one's playing COD
yeah, yeah.
unless
I
it's
mean,
Warzone.
yeah, and it's just, well, one, it's that time of the year. Everyone's kind of over it, and yeah, Warzone is like that game mode for COD, right? They've invested so much time and energy into it, and not a lot of people enjoy watching multiplayer anymore, which is, you know, why the CDL is not doing too hot. But like there are other reasons with that too. So if the CDL ended and like all these pros went to Warzone, they'd probably win way more money than
Yeah.
they are now. But I say we kill Warzone completely and go back, you know, bring multiplayer back.
Dude, I'm saying we go bring back the gameplay commentaries. That's what
Yeah.
we need, dude.
Just
Like, yeah, or the top 5 plays or any of the
yeah.
montages. I I don't know why that fell by the wayside in like popularity with people. That was everything in the community was watching people like, you know, Woody's Gamer Tag and
Mhm.
White Boy 7th Street and G Unit. Like they were good at the game, but they weren't insane at the game. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
weren't professionals at all at it, but people liked watching them just because their personality and they'd play the game. You
Mhm.
know, like, and it would just be probably what one game that you would actually have them talking over.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I used to eat those up, and then for
Yeah.
whatever reason, people just stopped liking those.
Yeah. I mean, that's just YouTube, dude. It evolves. The content evolves because one person is like, I'm going to do this because it's cool.
Right.
And then everyone's like, wait a minute, this montage is way better than like this stuff. And then
Yeah.
everyone just starts like getting onto that trend. And now like they just keep leveling up more and more and more. Um, so
Because I can see what replaced the gameplay commentary. Like, obviously, streaming came along,
yeah.
right? And that's like literally what it is,
Mhm.
basically, you know? Um, but some things like montages, what's really replaced that? You know,
Mhm.
like I don't think there's anything that's come along in Call of Duty that has replaced that other than like these fan made compilations of like, you know, this guy's top 10 moments or most
Mhm.
insane clutches that those
Yeah.
people post, you
Well,
know.
these montages just have evolved. Like they're way better now in terms of the editing and the stuff that they hit. Like
Yeah.
back in the day, like people would hit a triple and they're like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
Now, like that is very standard.
But are people still putting out montages though?
No, I mean there are a couple. What's his name? Phase Scope put out like an insane montage, and but it's just like insanely edited.
Yeah.
Like nuts. It, you know, back in the day, these montages were the actual gameplay and a couple of transitions. Now it's like 3D and like actual
Oh
animations
yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
again, if you want to get into editing and stuff, like you have to level up even more to be able to do that. Which I mean, I
Right.
guess it is a good thing, right? Because you're going to
Yeah.
get quality stuff. But that's why the big like YouTubers in general are big YouTubers because they keep innovating. They keep, you know, pushing the boundary like more and more with new skills and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I find it interesting that A lot of, a lot of stuff that people are into right now in gaming, like nostalgia is the big thing,
Mhm.
regarding what kind of games that people are playing. Like they're doing all remasters or bringing like maps back in Call of Duty. But for like old types of content, that doesn't apply.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
people don't miss, like, they do miss that era of YouTube where,
Mhm.
you'd have Hex and Anoj do their top 10 plays, but I don't
Mhm.
know how hyped people would be if they brought that back.
I don't think people would because it's too long. The attention span of like everybody now is way too short. Like no one's gonna sit through because even like ESPN, they don't do like top 10 plays anymore. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, they'll do it literally at the end of the entire show, and no
right.
one's watching at that point. Like, no one's gonna sit through 10 plays now.
How
Like,
sad is
it's
that?
got to be within 30 seconds. If you don't get it right away, people aren't watching it.
Yeah, which to me is pathetic.
Yeah, but that's the type of like media that's trending right now.
Yeah, there I think there would be a subset of people that would really appreciate it
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they would lock in on
yeah.
it, but um it for sure would not replace anything that's going on right now. I mean,
Yeah.
right now everything's pretty good as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I think the content that we watch, obviously the quality of it and the personalities that are there too, have gotten so much better
Yeah.
as the years have gone on. I think there's a lot of people though that I do miss and I wish they kept doing it.
Mhm.
Um but overall, yeah, the content quality's been it's been a lot better. I just wish that some of those guys, like in certain things, like again, montages or doing those top 10 plays, there is a part of me that I still really like those because
Mhm.
they were simple, or at least with the montages, those were so cool because it was all like based around pubs,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? Like that was the whole premise of it. Or it wouldn't even be like private lobby stuff that they'd be doing. Like that was
Yeah,
the
yeah.
whole allure about it, that they're actually doing this out against other players.
Yeah, yeah.
But
And I mean, the YouTubers and content creators that stopped doing all that stuff just chose not to evolve like with YouTube. That's a
right.
problem. I mean, you can keep doing it, but then you're gonna be in your head about like, oh, like you're just losing like numbers. It's just going
Yeah.
down and down and down
Yeah.
because you're not keeping up with like what's popping. But I
Right.
think nowadays it's like it's definitely the short form content. It's either short form content or really long content like podcasts. So
Mhm.
obviously we're on the side of like like much longer form content.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny. Like I think people are either on the short form or the really long form side nowadays. If you put out like a 10 to 15-minute video, a lot of people are like, unless you really like that content creator, most people won't click on that
Right.
because that's like just enough time where like you do have to invest time into it and be like, oh, is it good? And like if it doesn't catch your eye like in the beginning or your attention, you're probably skipping through it or you're just clicking off. And then with the longer form content, obviously, most people that are watching that or listening to that are people that are big fans of, the creator. So they stick through the entire thing.
And you also know too that when you're going to be watching that content, that you're invested in it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like we've said before about playing certain games.
Mhm.
I'll go and play Call of Duty for half an hour, but I'm not going to go and play Assassin's Creed for half an hour.
Yeah.
Because of what I'm expecting when I'm going to be playing or watching that creator, a video that's like, I mean, I was just watching Summoning Salt, who's like, I really like him. He does all these speedrun documentaries, and
Mhm.
his videos, like, they're never less than like 40 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
Like he just put this one out randomly
Mhm.
that was 50-ish minutes, which I was like, oh damn, that's pretty short, because he's done some that are like 2 hours. But
Mhm.
when you see that he has a video out, or in general, you're like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do.
Mhm.
Like, at least for me, I don't like breaking those up. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch the whole thing right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, I'm
Well,
not
see,
gonna watch
yeah,
10 minutes and then I'm gonna go do something else and then go back
yeah,
to it. I'm never like
yeah,
that.
yeah. I'm not like that either. It's like when Zuma and Ben like do the flank. The flanks, I mean, lately they've been like well over an hour to 2 hours long,
Mhm.
and I'll watch all of that, like every single minute of it. Yeah, I've watched every single flank that they've ever put out. But when Zuma puts out like a clip from his stream or whatever, and it's like 20-25 minutes, I won't watch it.
Right.
Like, because it's weird. Like I would
Yeah.
much rather watch a flank and invest all my vet.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. I do the same. The clips that I'll watch from him or from any of these guys is when they're labeled as heated or like,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And it's
The
an
clip
hour and
videos.
a half long or
Yeah, yeah.
something like that. Where I'm okay, this isn't edited down that much.
Hmm.
This is pretty just straight on raw content. I'll
Hmm.
go and sit and watch this.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm on the same page with the content time being like an odd thing for me. You
Hmm.
know, I don't want to. It all depends on like what I got going on. If I'm gonna watch something quick because I gotta get going, then sure I'll throw on something that's like really short and simple,
Hmm.
or I won't watch anything at all. But
Yeah, yeah.
like, you know, if I have a night where I'm not doing anything, I'm not going anywhere, I'm I'm ready to lock in and watch a video.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And
Usually
then
it's when I'm like eating or something. Like I want a long video. Just
yeah. And it was probably like that with the montages because I don't remember how long they were. They had to have been, I
10
mean,
minutes, like tops.
that's what I'm thinking. If you look up like phase COD montage, how long that is. Some of these, yeah, 8 years ago, yeah, the return team Taj, 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Phase is 1 million subscribers. Team Taj is 11 and a half minutes,
Hmm.
that's very strange when you think about that.
Yeah.
Like, first off, a whole team Taj is only going to be that long.
Hmm.
Like, I find that kind of ridiculous. You'd think it would be like half an hour, 45 minutes long. You know what I mean? It's just really strange to think that it's in the same kind of realm that we're talking about, where it's not long enough to really sit down and invest in, but
Hmm.
it's also still like, it's not short enough that I'm like, okay, I can go watch that really quick, you know?
Yeah, yeah. But I think it's just because life was different back then when we were kids. Like I don't know. I don't think back then. I mean, no one was really making really long form content. Like the
Yeah,
long form content was like 20 minutes.
right.
Uh, so yeah, it's just weird.
Well, I remember when Woody's Gamertag did that podcast, the Painkiller Already podcast. I remember when
Yeah.
he was one of the earliest people that I ever remember doing podcasts,
Hmm.
and it was kind of a success, but it wasn't as big. And then I mean, that guy, he's a visionary. It's amazing that he saw that all the way back in the day that was going to be the main move, because
Hmm.
I think that's where he took all of his content was to just doing that. He
Yeah.
didn't, he totally, I say totally gave up YouTube, but as like his whole idea of the gameplay commentary died out, he's like,
Hmm.
okay, I got to pivot. I got to do something else. And now I don't know if he has anything to do with gaming at all.
Yeah. I mean, most of those guys, a lot of them, they don't even like game anymore. They wore themselves out like over
Yeah.
the years.
Well, that's what's sad is all the guys that I liked watching growing up, and same with you.
Hmm.
Um, I wonder about them. Like, do they even play Call of Duty anymore? Like, even just for fun?
Hmm.
Like, they don't make
Oh, I
content,
doubt it.
but like, does X Jaws play COD anymore?
Nah,
Yeah.
I doubt it. Those
Like,
guys wouldn't even be able to handle what's happening now, to be honest.
so I'll say this really quick about that because it's kind of what is related to it. That video that I was watching on Summoning Saul, there was one of the guys there whose name was like Mr. like Mario or something like that. It was like some ridiculous name, but the dude was a beast in the game
Hmm.
way back in the day. And then he stopped playing because, he went to college and he, got a job and life happened.
Hmm.
And it was like 14 or 15 years later, they were doing this bounty to try to lower the time by like one frame. Every frame you got like $30 or something like
Hmm.
that. And they needed to lower it like I think it was like 50-ish or 60 frames, something like that.
Hmm.
The guy gets interested in the game again. And he's like, hasn't played in over a decade. Bro comes back and he gets one of the world records for one of the levels,
Yeah.
which I've never heard of that, where someone who's been out of it for so long, he's
Hmm.
like, I had to relearn the tech to the game, like
Hmm.
obviously all the new strats and new ways to play, and then just put in the time. And he
Hmm.
beat these guys who are like right at the top and have been
Hmm.
playing forever. And I
Hmm.
wonder about that with some of these guys too. and even the
Some
old pros too. Like, oh, you didn't give any of these guys, like the old professionals, you give them time, they learn the game. I wonder how good they'd really be.
Yeah.
Even with all that time off, like that guy,
Yeah.
like he was
I mean,
still insane.
so I think it's different though when like at least in COD specifically, when you were a former pro, like a lot of the pros that have retired, they retired not because they're just trash at the game.
Right.
They just don't like the game anymore and like competing at the level of like what they're doing now.
Yeah.
Because I mean, when they do the throwback tournaments, like I mean, Aches cooked all these guys in Black Ops 2 still.
Yeah.
Like again, you give these guys time and they'll be good. Maybe not to the extent of like the really young players, but they can hang.
Right.
But yeah, I was talking more like you give like X Jaws, Woody's gamer tag, White Boy 7th Street, CNET. Yeah. They'll be able to play. But
yeah, they'd be okay. Yeah.
I like it'll come back.
Right.
But it is gonna be so different from what they thought COD was.
Oh, for sure. It's probably like Call of Duty's frozen in time for those guys.
Yeah.
Their final memories of exactly, of what it used to be for them, and then seeing like what's going to be coming with Black Ops 7. It's every year we're getting older, and I'm realizing that this game is changing more and more.
Yeah.
And we're still in it. Like, again, all those guys who made so much money off of it, like based their careers at the time off of it, to think they haven't played it probably in, I don't know, I'm sure over a decade. It's unreal to me.
Yeah. I mean, like, think about all the friends that we had. We used to play COD with. Like, they're the same. Yeah. They just frozen in time. They dropped off.
Yeah. Everybody feels that. Everybody's got their friend group or like a couple, like their squad that they used to play. Like we have ours from MW3, all those guys that we remember. We never met them, barely knew their real names. Like I have no idea what those people are doing anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And at some point, the majority of them will drop off because of just life and whatever. And maybe they'll come back. Like they're still hanging around and they'll try out one of the newer games. Like, I'll call this guy Brad. You know who I'm talking about. He went and played Black Ops 4 with us after not playing any of the jetpacks. Cooked. He's like, this game sucks. Like, this is not Call of Duty. I'm like, no, Brad, I think you just are ass.
Right.
Like you have to adapt. But
too much time away.
He just couldn't get used to it. And also he didn't want to put in the time to like learn it again.
Well, that's the big thing. Everybody knows if you take time away from playing or doing anything, you're going to have to, relearn it again. I mean, we've had those times too, where we haven't played COD for a while. And I noticed the longer that I take off, of course, it takes a little bit, but that little bit still, like, even for like speaking for myself, it's probably like 3 or 4 games. And then I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm good. Like I'm not over here struggling again. Like I know how to do it. But if you're talking years and years, like we're not talking game like titles. Weeks or months. Yeah, no, exactly. Game titles, like insanity.
Yeah. Like imagine starting off back in the day what we were, and now you join in now. Like what do you mean it's sliding, dolphin diving?
Right.
What is slide canceling? Like what is this movement?
Oh, it would be ridiculous. And same thing with like all the guns and all the attachments. You'd have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, it'd be so overwhelming.
Yeah, it definitely would be. And once you get to that point too, where you're skipping titles, I mean, you don't even put the time in to buy the game. Yeah. So if you don't want to put in any time to do it, that's where they just see that they're completely trash at the game, and they're like, "Oh, screw this, dude. I'm not even gonna waste my time."
I know. And like last thing before we jump into like some more Black Ops 7 stuff, going back about the like gaming career, like all these people that played COD. So you've seen like the what's the YouTube channel? Like Jubilee. They do like social like challenges, whatever. You know. So FaZe did something like that, and it was like FaZe members versus 9 to 5 like employees. And basically they just had like the 9 to 5 employees like talk to, adapt and like Ronaldo and all bunch of phase members and be like, here, talk. And the whole debate was like which one's harder or whatever. I don't obviously it's all content, but I think the gamers were just more arguing like this is like talent and a skill to be at the level that we're at. Whereas the people working 9 to 5s are like, this is stupid. And my counter argument to that every single time when people say that, I'm like, maybe stupid, but they're making more than you'll ever make in your life.
Right.
Doing it. If you think that, I'm like, there's skill and talent in everything. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm like, how is like, I'll get heated about it. Like, you accept people doing an eating competition, eating fucking hot dogs over these guys competing on video games because of the, the whole like stigmatism around video games.
Right.
And there was this one specific scene. This girl was like, you are very privileged to be able to like make this amount, like playing these video games. And Ronaldo, he used to be on Thieves at one point for Fortnite. And he was like, I was like 15 or 16 living at home, like grinding content and streaming. And I was making more money than my parents at the time.
Right.
And she was like, that's a privilege that you're able to do that at home. And he was like, what? He was like, I'm living. What do you mean?
Right.
And she was like, no, it's a privilege that you're able to have all that stuff and be able to stay at home and, grind that when other kids aren't able to. And he was like, but every parent is taking care of their kids. And what do you mean? Like, he was living at home like every other most 15, 16-year-olds.
Right.
Granted, yeah, I mean, if you're talking about like foster care and stuff, that's completely different. But then you can apply like that privilege to everything.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's where that word privilege gets lost on a lot of people, because he could be like, well, you're privileged to have a job. He's like, well, no, I applied for it and I went and got a degree.
Yeah,
no, but like the fact that you can actually apply for a job, like you had a family that allowed you to go to college. You know what I mean? Like you could use it to the nth degree.
And, And he was like, were you homeless at 15 or 16?
Right.
She was like, no. But my parents didn't like do this stuff for me. And then he was like, well, your parents are awful.
Right.
But that's when, like, that's when like the debate just went crazy or whatever. But when people say that stuff, I mean, like, dude, you know me. I can throw the privilege card anytime I want if I really wanted to. Of course. But like, you need to be open-minded about how these people like got so big in their careers. Like, it's a different generation. Like, you can't.
It is. People are just naive to the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'd even say like my dad has always been one of those people where
it's all older people.
Yeah, he never really saw it, but it's pretty amazing. He's recently now seen that this is a big deal.
Yeah.
Because my dad, like, my dad's all into racing, and we're watching Formula One and watching, Le Mans cars and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And one of the cars in F1 is this Kick Sauber. Yeah. And he's like, Mike, I looked up that team. He's like, Kick. He's like, that's like a streaming platform. Is that what it is? Mm-hmm. I was like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. And he's like, so what do you do on it? I explained the whole thing to him.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, these people, they could be millionaires off doing this. And then I was telling him, there's people who do like iRacing, like the sim cars, mm-hmm. and they stream that, or they compete in all these, like Formula One has like an esport, and a lot of these do. And I couldn't believe, he's like, I've heard about this. He's like, and I'm seeing, he's like, I think, there's a lot to be said about that stuff.
And then I'm like, shut the fuck up.
No, well,
you did it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, you don't remember in 2006, motherfucker. You were
we could have been
down.
millionaires.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah. He was always cool about like buying like little simulators and stuff,
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
for like when I play Gran
Yeah, yeah.
Turismo. But I think he was just like, wow,
They didn't
it's
see the
just to
vision.
help simulate it, like,
Yeah,
but it's not the real thing, of course. You can't do that.
yeah,
And now that I'm telling him and he knows, it's like, yeah, you can.
yeah,
Red Bull did this whole thing. Yap here. Red Bull did this whole thing where they had this guy who's like one of the top
yeah, yeah,
racers for Red Bull. You seen that video?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and he got in the actual car he drives all the time, and he
yeah,
was right up there with the actual driver.
yeah,
And they were mind blown. And to me, I'm like, I'm not like not at
yeah,
all. It's like you get one of those sims, it's basically the same thing. You
yeah,
put in, but you have to put in again so much time. Like
yeah,
that guy's put in thousands and
yeah.
thousands and thousands of
I,
hours. Same thing with all the guys on Phase. They
yeah,
didn't just wake up one day, start streaming and making thousands of dollars. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way.
yeah. These guys did it for like years, like
Mhm.
years, until they just started making like pennies off of
Right.
videos. And yeah, so I think people start realizing it when you can apply it to their everyday life, and then they become interested,
Right.
right? Like the opportunities we've gotten through this podcast and just playing video games to be able to meet like, really cool people in the scene and people know of them. And they're like,
Mhm.
oh, whoa, wait. I'm like, yeah, it's through video games.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and
But
then they'll either,
we're privileged.
yeah, we're privileged. Yeah, exactly. 'Cause we
We're
play
not,
video games.
we haven't recorded over 200 episodes.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like people only really care about it until like it applies to them. Then they'll be like, "Oh, okay, this is actually really cool," or "This is stupid. Like, how are people able to do this for like a living?" It's like
Yeah.
you work for it. I mean, a lot like at the end of the day, a lot of it is timing. Like you work really hard for it, but you have to put in the work and the effort to do it. It's not like these streamers are like they're just lost in time, right? Like when we were watching White Boy 7th Street, T Martin, all those guys, we thought they'd just be like that forever. And new content creators and streamers come out like every year. There's always new people coming up. And yeah, you got to be like somewhat lucky to be that, but you also got to put in insane work to get there.
And you have to always be ready to pivot.
Yeah.
And those guys did not do that,
Yeah.
And it's a couple of them, like
Yeah.
I said, Woody definitely is one of those people who did.
Mhm.
And yeah, you're very right. You think that content when you're a kid or even right now, I see all these guys that, are the standby streamers. There's no way it's going to be the same in 5 years,
Mhm.
in 2 years. The big guys will of course still be around. But like all those guys that we watch in Call of Duty, there's going to be new people that come around.
Mhm.
And then even in 10 years, who's to say that this is going to be the medium for like what we watch content on? Like, is Twitch going to
Mhm.
be still a huge thing, or are we going to have something new?
Mhm.
I couldn't imagine that Twitch would have been what it was back when YouTube was king,
Mhm.
and everybody watched YouTube for Call of Duty content. And now it's like, not like it's completely changed, but
Mhm.
Twitch has come in, live stream has come in and changed the game,
Mhm. Yeah, and I don't think people realize that. They don't people that aren't into gaming just again, like you said, they're naive and they just go to the old stigma of these people don't do anything with
Yeah,
their
and
life.
exactly. And they just don't understand that how much work actually goes into what they're doing, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Like
And
it's and all the work leading up to it too.
yeah, yeah,
People
yeah.
see Zuma and they're like, "Oh, he makes a ton of money doing his the flank and everything and
Yeah.
being a pro COD player." He was like, "Oh, I was making all this money." And
Yeah.
people are like, "Dude, they were just like, that's sick. You started playing pro COD and making a bunch of money must be nice." It's
Yeah.
like, "No, that's it's not how it
Yeah.
works." Like he was playing for nothing for years and years as a kid
Yeah.
and had to, stay at the top and
Yeah.
work at that, But
Mhm.
but again, they just don't understand that that's what it is, like how
Exactly.
much of a
Yeah.
skill it is to do that.
Yeah. And when they, from him, people hear about him and they're like, "Wait, 20K a month?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's a shit ton of money." But imagine if he didn't also decide to build his brand at the same time of competing at the highest level.
Yeah.
You would have you'd have like what? A ton of money. But he at that time, he's like 22, 23.
Well,
How long is that going to last you if you're living till like 80, right? Like
yeah.
that money won't last you forever. And the fact that he built his career, like 10 years of just career and content over a decade, and now like he's thriving. Where you see
And
like other people that chose not to do that.
yeah, I mean, we've talked about that before, like, like Sloss and those guys who, former pros and are
Mhm.
like legends in the game and made money playing the game, but they didn't want to go the route of, like now today, yeah, if they were streaming and stuff and had built that over time, they could be making a ton of money. But a
Yeah.
lot of them were like, I got to do something else. Like I can't live off of the $200,000 that I made, which is a shit ton of money, but
Yeah.
I'm 23,
Yeah.
and I'm retired from COD. Like
Yeah.
I gotta do something with that money,
Yeah.
and same thing with like White Boy. I remember he bought a house and
Yeah.
we were like, what? Like that's insane.
Mhm.
But he wasn't pulling in those viewers. Like,
Mhm.
towards the end when the shift happened, he was getting like tens, hundreds of thousands of views, but then
Mhm.
it dries up. And what do? You got to shift.
Exactly.
Not everybody does, and not everyone does it successfully.
Yeah, exactly. And if I mean, if you don't want to be a content creator, like that, it is what it is. But some of those guys, like, they're just naive. You see that much money in front of you. I'm like, dude, yeah, $200,000 in a year is a ton of money. That's not lasting you for the
Right.
rest of your life. Go, you
Right.
you have to go make more.
Yeah.
And if you think that's gonna last the rest of your life, you're a little too young.
Right.
Because
Well,
yeah,
and even still, you see the guys who are big in content, like Zuma, who I say like a big part of it, but a part of his income and money depends on the game.
yeah,
If people enjoy, like right now, if people enjoy the game and are playing it and want to watch other people play it, they're like there's a high interest around it.
mhm,
There's going to be excitement about it, and then
mhm,
that'll be more viewers for him and potentially more donos and sponsors and
mhm,
everything like that, and he can run his ads. Um, but like in these times right now where like the game is really lean,
yeah,
and especially too with Black Ops 7 when it comes out, like that's obviously going to be a high point. But
mhm,
if it's not that great of a game and people are going to be bitching about it,
mhm.
people aren't going to want to watch these people playing it.
Yeah, and that's why it's Scump and Zoom are like in the forefront of like COD because they can turn their stream on and play other games. And if
Right,
COD's bad, people will still follow them because they built their viewership up,
right.
and they have like a true following. But if you're like a new person starting up, you got to go through the shit. Like you're gonna
Yeah.
get inflated numbers.
Mhm.
Like when Black Ops 7 comes out, but you didn't build a true following. Like you're friends with your community, and
Right.
you talk with everyone. People take that for granted.
No, they
Yeah, like
totally do.
they see Zuma and Scump and they're like, "Oh yeah, it must be nice." I'm like, "Yeah." Think about like the hours and hours that they put into this, making nothing.
Oh, yeah, well,
Um,
in the years and years of trying to build a community,
yeah, and
you know.
like the whole back to the 9 to 5 thing. Like you can't compare like apples to oranges, but it's hard. Yeah, I'm sure most people would rather stream and do like stupid shit than going like roofing or like construction for like 8 to 10 hours a day. Yeah, obviously. But if you're comparing it to like something that's somewhat close to that, like an office job, you know, it's relatively like the same.
Right.
And you can even argue like the 9 to 5 is probably more stressful because you have a boss that you have to report to. When streaming, you are your own boss. But then you can argue, well, since you're your own boss, like you're not getting a paycheck next week unless you go to work and do it yourself.
Right.
Like you have that on your back. Everyone's biased. Like,
Yeah, and everyone's got their own idea of like, what is difficult and what is not difficult
yeah,
for them to deal with. Certain stresses bother other people and
hmm
some don't. I'm sure there's streamers who are probably stressed all the time,
yeah,
based on their viewership and the content and quality of it.
hmm
And then there's other streamers who are probably just like, no big deal. Like we'll turn on the stream and
hmm
we'll see how it goes. And there's
hmm
people like that we know that work. I
oh
I
yeah,
know I've got people like that at my place. I know you do too. There's people who show up and are like, okay, we've got like a job to do. Let's get it done. And then there's other people who are just like slacking off and
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
doing a half baked job.
Mhm.
And it's like, yeah, there's people in both of those, but in the long run, if you really push it, yeah, that guy's going to get more success. And it's always the
Yeah.
lazy people who are like, man, must be nice,
Oh, you must be
bro.
nice. Yeah, must be
Like, dude, if
nice.
you put in the time, bro, you could have been one of those people, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, the opportunity was there.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
just didn't use it. The only people that are like truly biased are the like the young content creators that like blew up while they weren't even 18 yet, and like they didn't go and work a normal like job because they didn't need to, you
Right.
know. And people are like, oh well, that's dumb. I'm like, oh, okay, you tell me if you're 15, 16 making like fucking like 5 to 10K a month, are you gonna go work a normal job and like you're making more than like your parents or whatever, or like you can help pay bills for your parents? Like it's not their fault that those kids like grinded and like luck happened and they blew up. They're like, oh, that's privilege. No, that's luck.
Right. Right.
Like, no.
Yeah, there definitely is there's a skewed line with people when they try to think of privilege over hard work or dedication. Some
Yeah.
again, like we said it earlier, it's a generational thing. People just don't understand that any of these people that we watch, like whether they're pro COD players or
Mhm.
streamers or whatever, there's a significant amount of sacrifice and work that goes into that.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I saw with TP because I don't watch him really at all on
Mhm.
streams, but he was away on vacation and I was seeing him post and stuff. And
Yeah.
then I want to see if I can find exactly what he said because um it was just like an update on him being like, hey, I'm back and everything. Like it's been a while. Yeah, it was longest I've been away and all this stuff. I don't know how long it was. It was probably like I'd imagine maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
Mhm.
if that. And
Mhm.
he's like, "This is the longest break I've had from streaming since 2017."
Mhm.
I was
Yeah.
like, that if that doesn't say it, then I don't know what does, you
Yeah.
know? Like,
Yeah.
the guy is doing well, he's
Mhm.
successful at streaming,
Mhm.
but there you go. That guy
Yeah.
streams every day for hours and
Mhm.
hours and hours. And, yeah, the longest break he's had in 7 years, 8 years
Mhm.
is like we're talking not months, we're talking just like a couple of weeks from
Yeah.
his job, you
Yeah.
know?
And those are the people that like succeed
Right,
because they grind away because they realize like if you stop, like you don't have a paycheck coming in like next
right,
week.
right,
Like
right.
and imagine if you're streaming and you are finally making a paycheck and it's like, okay, this might end. This could just end completely the next day.
Yeah, yeah,
And then if you choose to stop, you are literally the reason why you're not making a paycheck next week.
right.
So
But he's
yeah,
privileged that he can take that time off. It's
yeah, because yeah, exactly.
not like he did
Other
anything
people,
to get there.
yeah, exactly. I don't
People
know.
don't get this.
Yeah, people don't understand hard work on both
Hopefully
sides.
people listening get this though.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah. I hope
but
so.
we know those people that I mean we don't have any of our close friends that are like that. But of course
No, yeah,
like my parents are like that. I'm sure my
yeah,
brother is to an extent. I tell him that and he's like, dude, they make fucking how much money just from playing COD? He's like, that's insane. I'm like, dude, they're the best in the world. He's like, no, I get it. I get it. I'm like, no, you don't though.
no, you don't. Yeah, no, you don't. No, you
I
don't.
was like, you know that they're
It
good
yeah,
and you know that you suck, but
yeah,
you
yeah,
don't know how much. He's like, well, dude, you play a lot. I'm like, are you kidding me?
yeah,
Like, it's not
exactly.
even a percentage of what they do,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And then you compare it to regular sports, and they're like, oh, I'm like, these guys make a lot of money, but they don't make like life changing money.
Right, right, right,
Life
right.
changing money is being in a regular sport. That is life changing money.
Yeah.
Like you can
Yeah.
sign one extension and you're good for the rest of your life
Right,
if you're
right,
smart with
right.
it. Like this, yeah, you sign like a $500,000 contract for a year. Next year, you're dropped. All right, now you have like a pretty good base, but that's not
Well,
lasting you forever.
well, dude, and that's why, like, obviously with like I know it's way more about the prestige, but we got COD champs this week, which by the time people are listening to it, congrats on Atlanta FaZe being the
Yeah, Atlanta
2025
phase.
CDL champions. But like those guys are playing for, I mean, I don't know how much you win for champs. I forget. It's obviously six figures.
It's 1.2.
That's the total prize pool, right? Or is that for first place?
I'm pretty sure that's first place.
So there you go. I mean,
Yeah.
that like
Or
you're
it
getting
might be 800K for first place. I know it's gotten smaller over the years.
right. So you thinking that like, you'd probably be making like 180, 200K if you win somewhere around
Yeah.
there, perhaps. I'm not really sure exactly, but you're making really good money. But that still is like, again, that ain't life-changing money. And also
Yeah.
for you think about these teams at the bottom who are not making champs, or the teams like unfortunately breach, like that'd be some nice cash to have, to be trying
Yeah.
to play for there, especially like throughout all these majors. If you haven't really been doing that well and you're
Mhm.
on 60K a year, it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's good. Like it's good money, but we didn't really win any extra money throughout the year. Now we're playing champs, and I might lose my job because I'm not playing that good. Like
Yeah.
you talk about stress, like,
Mhm.
I mean, it's insane. I hope it translates into good games that we get to watch here. We get to see
Mhm.
a lot of teams fighting big time. But that again, just like we were saying before, that's something that most people wouldn't even think of. They just
Yeah.
see them playing like, oh, they're playing professional Call of Duty for $1.2 million. Must be nice. I'm
Mhm.
like, yeah, but dude, there's some big time stress going on here
Oh,
with
yeah.
people.
Your career's on the line. And
Yeah,
also too, like you said, uh you can lose your job the following year if you don't perform. Yeah, say you do win it, right? And you win like 180 to 200K. Uh that's before taxes. After
right,
taxes, you're making like a little over 100. Still great money in, a weekend's work. Uh but like think about it. All right, you want to go buy like a car, bro. Like a quarter that's just gone immediately.
right,
And now, okay, you got to use this to survive the rest of the year, and hopefully you're signed the next year.
right.
Because
Or you get picked up
winning,
midway.
yeah, and winning champs does not secure you a spot in the league, as we've seen.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it can get really intense. I mean, I think this champs, obviously it's going to be a really good one because of the caliber of the teams that, with the Phase and Thieves. Again, people listening, it already happened. Like those teams just they played at such a high level,
mhm,
and again, they don't have anything to like worry about. Like they're like job wise, like we're talking about, those are like complete anomalies. Those people, I guarantee they're all gonna. I think Thieves for sure is locked in. They're staying.
yeah,
Phase, I'd be shocked if anything happened. And to think that they're just all playing just for the sake that they want to beat each
mhm,
other and they want that ring.
yeah,
That's like the best part of it. It's gonna suck to see though after champs happens, and there's going to be teams that bow out early, and there's going to be a lot of sadness. And yeah, I mean, that's what we're going to be talking about. There's going to be teams, I'm sure, during this offseason. Well, I'm sure, of course, there's going to be teams and players
mhm,
that are going to be out, and they're going to have to scramble and try to figure out where they're going to go next.
yeah,
I do not envy that at all. Like that offseason, if
mhm,
you're not one of the top teams and top players, I would I couldn't even imagine the anxiety having to
yeah,
deal with that every year. You're like,
mhm,
okay, here we go. Like, am I
mhm,
going to have a job next year? I don't know. It all
mhm.
depends. Like, yeah, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, and that's when, you know, I'm sure it goes through some people's heads that have
Right.
debated
Right.
content. They're like, fuck, maybe I should have started content and like
Yeah.
slowly built up my brand like a little bit. So then you have a potential fallback to like pursue.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it is 800K,
There you go.
800K. So yeah, and good money. But like you say, if you're not one and two or three, you know, it's gonna be really hard
If you
going
ain't a
into the following year.
superstar, is what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically. You gotta
You ain't
be
a
a
superstar.
superstar.
You gotta be careful.
Yeah,
You know.
those guys are all good because they also win a lot too.
Right.
Uh, but imagine going, the breach have been there. You go to a tournament, you win like 8K. All right. You just all won 2K each, taxes. You just won a little over a grand.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, like
Fuck.
it's like
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
You have to be winning that stuff a few times a month to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
like doing all right.
Yeah. That's when it's
Um,
like, you grinded for a whole month and put in hours of gameplay and like scrims to win $1,200.
right.
Where like you have the potential to win up to like $40,000 or whatever,
Right.
you know?
And that's like, we don't have to go too crazy into it, but that's where, timing matters. If you're
Yeah.
someone who's like 16 or 18 and you're doing that stuff,
Mhm.
like to me, yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Like you don't got anything to lose, but when you're like 23, 24, around that age, especially like by us, like it's over for you.
Yeah.
If you're trying to make a profession at that, and that's how much like you had to put in all that time, and you already know that the path ahead is very difficult.
Mhm.
Um, you got to make a call. You got to be like, dude, I got to get out of this. Like, I can't be bothering. Yeah, that's where the money does become an issue. I know
Yeah.
people say like it's not about the money, and that's true, to an extent.
Mhm.
If you're someone who's young and has, the privilege
Yeah.
to be able to do that and not worry about it, then yeah, you should go for it. But if you're like, hey, you got bills to pay and you got, you got to pay like a roof over your head, do whatever, pay rent, etc. Yeah, your Call of Duty career, if you're going to be making $1,000 a month,
Mhm.
you might need to reconsider.
Yeah. And this is like COD specifically too. Like there is no infrastructure for it.
There's none.
Like it'd be different if you could see the path, and like,
Yeah.
you can actually work hard for it, but there is no path to pro.
Right.
That there's nothing to show your parents and be like, hey, the longer I'm in this, eventually I'll have a pretty good chance of making it into the league. There's none of that.
And that's insane to me that we're this
Yeah.
far into like the CDL and just into professional COD in general, and there
Mhm.
isn't something like that built in for the new people that are coming up.
Yeah.
Because we've said it 1,000 times, all you see is this perpetual cycle of people that are, top AMs
Mhm.
that become, low tier pros playing on a terrible team. Then they go and drop everybody. Then they go back down, and now they're a former pro, and
Mhm.
they're back at the top in challenges. And it's just this vicious cycle that
Mhm.
a lot of those people never get out of unless you're, again, an elite, like, S tier player, or you're someone who has like a brand that's built around you, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. It's just not a easy sell for these young players in
It is
COD.
not. No.
Especially too when, they're like, oh, you need to not go to school or like have a backup or have a job. Like you have to dedicate everything to this. It's like,
Right.
no, you don't. Like, cause you're 20. You got like, dude, the rest of your life to work. So
Yeah.
you better not put your eggs all in one basket.
Yeah, it's a gamble for sure. And when you're young, you can take it, but there has to, again, you have to have a plan B, plan
Mhm.
C, whatever. You got to realize, or have just a fallback on that. You're like, to take a little stress off you,
Mhm.
instead of putting, like you said, everything into one basket, thinking that this is gonna work out for you. I could
Yeah.
maybe understand that if there was a clearer path to
Yeah.
how you're gonna get there. And just you can see the results of the past years where you're like, okay, this guy was a top am, and then
Mhm.
he ended up being on like a pro team, and he was able to do well. It's not saying that that doesn't happen,
Mhm.
but you know, there really is no guarantee if you win anything in the
There's no
amateurs.
guarantee.
There is
Yeah.
none. It's like there's plenty of cases where those guys go out and they've been winning multiple, challengers cups and challengers championships and stuff, and then they have to do it all again next year.
Mhm.
Like it's like unheard of. You don't hear about that in other sports.
Yeah.
Like very rarely. You don't
Mhm.
see guys in like, like I'd say in Formula One, GP2s or F2. You don't see anybody who's a two-time F2 champion
Mhm.
because they win it once and then they go to F1.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Yeah. And
it's
it's
like
just God, it's so different with like
right,
esports. You can
right,
take the best of the best from that team, but we know you can't stick them in a shitty team, and that one player is going to make them all better.
right, right.
Um, so yeah, it's a weird conversation that people, when they talk about it, like they don't actually realize.
And
I
it doesn't
mean,
help. It doesn't help too, though. I was gonna say really quick, doesn't help too when the game is shit. When the game isn't good,
yeah,
and then
that's
you don't even want to
yeah,
play it, then
exactly.
that makes the journey that much harder.
Yeah, and the people that think it's lame to like go and work and like do other stuff besides commit 100% into one thing, I don't feel bad if you fail because I think if you want something bad enough, you're gonna lose sleep over it. Like you know, don't be a bitch. You're only gonna get 4 to 5 hours of sleep. It is what it is.
Right.
How bad do you want it? If you think you're great at it, you can do it on the side.
Yeah.
And some
100%.
people are like, no, you have to do it 100%. I'm like, all right. I mean, and if you fail, that's on you. You can't do anything about it.
I will say to that, like my thing to end on that is when people say 100, like give it 110% or give it 100%. You know how many
Mhm.
people I think actually do that?
Yeah.
Like very few people.
Yeah.
The guys who like when you see the people who gave it 100%, you know,
Mhm.
there you see the results. You see
Exactly.
those
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no question that, oh yeah, this guy gave it everything. If you're failing all the time and you're
Mhm.
constantly struggling and you're like, dude, I'm giving it everything that I have. I'm like, no, you're not. You're
Yeah.
you're either going about this completely wrong,
Yeah.
you know, or
Mhm.
like, and you're wasting all of your time because of how
Mhm.
you're thinking about this, or you're just BSing yourself and you're like, oh, I'm giving everything I have, and you're doing it like 3-4 hours a day. I'm like, bro, that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
giving it everything you
Ex-
have. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
let's be real here,
Yeah. Like these guys went to school, they went to college. After college, they are after school, they would go to work a job, come back like 8, 9 o'clock, start streaming or
Yeah.
start scrimming,
Yeah.
playing
Who's
into the
doing
next
that?
day. And then they would do it all over again.
Right.
And then people are like, oh, you're privileged to make 20K a month. Imagine
Yeah.
fucking doing that like
Yeah.
every single day, just
Eh,
in
eh,
case.
I mean, dude, like I'm sure there was some point in our brains when we were kids where like, dude, maybe we play games for like a career, like
Yeah.
doing that, but we just didn't play enough. And it's like I
Yeah.
wouldn't, and like you immediately extinguish that because you're like, I don't even play enough, and I don't want to, you
Yeah.
know, like
Mhm.
I would not want to play COD 8 to 10 hours a day every day. I wouldn't
Yeah.
want to do that,
I would
you
not want to
know?
be a pro.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
I don't want that.
Yeah. Like, of course, what do you want? The money and the lifestyle with it? Yeah, sure, that's nice, but I'm not willing to put in that work, so forget it,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
Well, it's like I found something else that I'll do instead, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And you got to be real with yourself about like these people are talented. You're like, yeah, there's a lot of skill in it, but like these people are just born naturally gifted too.
Yeah, and that's why I don't get jealous about those guys because
Yeah.
again, you and I know, and hopefully people who are listening to this and stuck with us through this whole thing, like you know how much work goes into that, you
Yeah.
know? And, and I'm like, yeah, of course. Like it's no surprise. Like I'm not like how could you be jealous of any of those guys that you watch on Twitch that
Hmm.
you know their story? It's like, bro, I know that those guys made nothing and they like I'm sure they had like supporters, but they had a lot of naysayers and they may have
Hmm.
had doubts from other people, but they just kept doing it.
Yeah.
And like and look, it paid off. Like this is what it looks like,
Hmm. Yeah.
And for every one of them, there's 1,000, 10,000 of those people that failed at it.
Yeah. Yeah. And what helps them is that they actually like what they're doing. Like
Right.
like they're not doing it. Maybe they're doing it because they're like, it's gonna happen. This is gonna be my career. But they truly enjoy like every piece of it, even if they're making nothing.
Right.
Uh, and if you're doing that, that's fine. But people start seeing dollar signs and they're like, oh, I want to start doing this.
Well, that's something I respect about guys like Zuma because when they were talking about the Black Ops 7 trailer, he like wasn't really that hype on it. Did you see that whole thing?
Yeah.
Like he
Mhm.
didn't
The
really, it was like,
downfall
ah,
of
it's
COD.
whatever. And people in his, chat are like, dude, what the fuck? Like you need to get like you should be hyped about it.
Mhm.
And he's one of the only people where it's just like, I'm not because of all the reasons that he explained why,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
problems with COD. Um, and to him, I'm sure that there's people at Activision or people that are in the business that don't like that he says that
Yeah,
and
yeah.
feels that way. Of
Mhm.
course, I mean, look, you got to be real. He's got a big pull with
Yeah,
the community, and people don't like that he says that. But that's what I respect about him. It's like I
yeah,
don't care. It's way more about like the love of the game and like that. I love that game because it put me here, and that's
yeah,
why I'm talking like that about the
yeah.
game. And I'm not gonna just BS because then I'll have them come out. Hey, do you want to go and come play the game like in front of, X amount of people and you can get like early access to it and
Mhm.
all this stuff. And for most other people, you'd be like, dude, that's an amazing opportunity. You could stream it,
Mhm.
make tons of money. But to him, it's like, no, I don't care about that.
Yeah, because he's at the point of his career where like he doesn't need that like
No.
opportunity anymore,
Yeah, he
and
doesn't.
he's
Exactly.
truly doing it because he just enjoys it.
Right.
And too, like Call of Duty, just they haven't had a good track record among like these guys. It's like so many of them, like they're not gonna believe it until they see it and play it at this point. Like you can show them every trailer, you can show them every multiplayer trailer, you know, and gameplay of it until they touch the game and they put in their time, they're not gonna believe it, which is fair.
Yeah, and we're way lesser like that, but still
Yeah.
to an extent feel that where
Mhm.
they talk about certain things. Like, I mean, we'd mentioned it how they're saying that there's going to be no wall running or jetpacks in this, and it's going to be like an evolution of Omni movement. Like, look, I'll wait and whenever I play it when it comes out, then I'll get to see what they actually have been cooking up. Like if it was worth it and this was a good move by them,
Yeah.
or if it wasn't really a great move. And same thing with like rumors I saw about them saying that control is going to be in the game. I mean, man, we've heard that more than a few times,
Mhm.
and people get excited thinking that control is going to be out and it's going to be was it uplink that I think is
Yeah.
going to be in there. I think I misspoke before, but yeah, having uplink in there and people saying
Mhm.
control's gone. Uh, I've heard that coming from other CODs, but it never comes through.
Yeah.
And here's another time where they're saying this is going to happen, and I'm like, I'll wait and believe it, because
Yeah.
who knows? And Zuma's
Exactly.
over here still bitching about the scoreboard being broken. And I'll tell you, even my stupid thing I'm playing, and my level is still glitched.
Yeah.
They never
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I don't get that. I'm like, how is
And
that not fixed
yeah.
across the board?
And
You
our
know?
experiences and like everybody listening, our experiences are completely different than like, a player like Zuma or like these streamers, these big streamers, because like, yeah, our opinions matter, like all of us, our opinions matter to an extent. It's like the different levels of Call of Duty fans, right? Like Zuma, this is his job. So like you said, imagine playing a game and like he doesn't need to, but say like if his entire community is Call of Duty and like if he stopped playing COD and they all left him, he's forced to play the game
Right.
to keep up his life, literally.
Right.
Whereas you and I, like, we don't rely on Call of Duty for our life. Like,
Right.
we just do this for fun. We play the game for fun, and it brings like cool opportunities. But we're not leaning on it. So it's fine if, I mean, we played through Vanguard. That was like a shit year. And it's not like we lost income over it, you know?
Right. Right.
And then the people that, they want to come back after their job and just sit down and play with the boys for like an hour. Those people too, you got to appeal to them too.
Hmm. Yeah. And to think again, what you were talking about earlier, even for us, it was hard to talk about on the podcast, talking about the game because it's like, dude, the game sucks. Like, there's always
It's
problems
hard
and
to
like
talk
this
about. Yeah.
negative.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and that's for us where this is just, a side fun thing. I'm like, can you
Yeah.
imagine if you're someone who's streaming
Yeah.
and you've got to play this game all the time and you're like, I have to. One, because it's my job. And if I don't, like, I lose money.
Yeah.
And like my job and career is on the line. And I maybe
Mhm.
not going to be able to like pay rent if I'm
Yeah.
not playing this game. Like I would never want to be dealing with that.
Yeah. And where else I go? Yeah. Yeah. You and I, like, we realized we are being negative like how many episodes in a row? And we're like,
Yeah,
okay,
right.
dude, like,
Trash in the game.
we can't keep doing that because
Right.
it's the same thing over and
Right.
over
Right.
again.
Right. Right.
We got to find something else.
Hmm.
And like we can do that.
Yeah.
But
But it's
imagine
different
going
when
yeah.
you have money on the line and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine streaming every day and all you do is just complain about like it's literally like you're going to a job that you hate, but now you have to talk to an audience about how much you hate your job
Yeah.
every day until it's
Right.
over.
Right.
And
Right.
it's
Right.
never going to be over
Yeah.
until the
Until
next
you
game.
get out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Or yeah, you hope with the next game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. It is an interesting talk. I hope people that were listening stuck through it because I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
It's different than it's our break while we have the COD champs going on. That's what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
Because again, we like if you haven't already and you made it, well, if you made it this far, I appreciate it. But yeah, we
Mhm.
talked about our bracket last week and we covered that, which was nice. So people already have that prior to champs. But I was just texting one of our mutual friends about it, and I was like, dude, fucking Champs is this week. Like, it's finally here. That's what he said. He's like, dude, finally, bro. Like,
Yeah.
he's like, I
Over
haven't watched
a
Call of
month.
Duty in it's like I haven't watched Call of Duty in forever. Like, I
Mhm.
forget what's even going on. I'm like, dude, I gotta remember the teams.
Dude, yeah. I
Like,
went
I
to
was
go
looking at
edit
these
every
matchups. I'm like,
yeah.
shit.
I was to go make the thumbnail. I put like FaZe and Thieves like on the thumbnail. I'm like, who the fuck's on Optic?
Right.
Who are these guys? I'm like
Right.
Shotzi, Dashy, Merc. Who's their fourth?
Dude.
Nothing against Hook, dude. But and then I went to go grab a graphic of all the Optic members. Dude, there were like 6 in the whole year of like Pred, Kenny, Pred's out, Hook's back in, and then Skies is in with Pred, and then Pred's out, and now Kenny's out, and then they got Hook again, and it was just crazy.
It was ridiculous to keep track of it all.
Yeah.
It was nuts. But we finally made it to the end.
We didn't make it to the end.
Yeah. So now I got to brush up on some of those teams. Like, I got to remember who's on all of them, and I got to look through the matches again, because it's going to be a good one for sure. I'm excited for it. I always love this time of the year. And I'm going to have our bracket pulled up during it, man. I hope that we're right. I hope that finally throughout the whole year we get this bracket pretty perfect, because I think this is a good one to predict. I don't think this one's too difficult, but I think Seattle or Ultra throw something at us.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, realistically, I think it can go perfectly. And then the end is literally just a toss up.
Right.
So if that happens, then I'll be okay with it. But I mean, again, dude, Breach could just come out and beat Thieves. Again, who knows? That would be, if that happens, though, they just used up like everything the tournament just to do that.
The next match, they don't even spawn in.
Dude, if that happens,
drained.
Breach, just lose, go to the losers, and use that energy to like get through as much as you can.
Right. Yeah, I wonder how much the bracket would change if they ended up beating Thieves in the first round.
That would be a historical run. If Thieves get knocked down to losers first round, I'd want them to win.
Yeah.
Like or that run's insane. Like, well, not by today's standard, it's insane. But you would like, it's one and done. You have to win now.
Right.
Could you imagine though? Thieves and FaZe go to losers. Someone's going out. Optic and Breach do the impossible.
Well, like again, that's what I like don't want to happen.
Yeah.
Is if I say like don't want to happen,
it's going to be because it's most likely going to be a one-off.
Right.
That's why. Yeah.
Yeah. And if that happens too, everybody knows that like the COD Champs winner is like got an asterisk next to it. If they get knocked out, but if they go to losers and they both, ended up getting knocked out.
Yeah.
Or like, one of them doesn't make it to grand finals. Everybody would know that that's Fugazi. Like, those two teams were the best teams all year and they should have been there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty confident they will make it there, but that doesn't really mean anything because we've seen crazier stuff happen before. It would just be nuts to see if it was like Ultra and Optic in grand finals.
Yeah,
because
something crazy.
Exactly. Just because we haven't seen it at all this year, and to think like this is what we've got.
This is what we waited for the entire year.
I'd be like stoked and disappointed too at the same time. I'm like, this isn't the culmination of the whole year.
And everyone's gonna be so biased to it. They're gonna be like, Thieves and FaZe played like trash that event. They're so bad. Like, what happened to them? They're so because it's gonna be in some fashion like that if it happens. Like, Thieves are gonna get swept 3-0, and they're just gonna look horrendous. And same with FaZe, and that's the only way they're gonna go out. And every fan's gonna be like, they're the worst teams. Like, what do you do? No, they just didn't show up that weekend.
Yeah, and then if it ends up being like Surge and Ultra, that would be a cool grand finals.
Yeah,
that'd be
better.
Cool. But yeah, it would be better. But then if I see Neptune up there going like this towards somebody, I'm gonna lose. Lose you're terrible. I'll lose my mind. I don't want to see that. But
I'm like,
we'll have to wait and see though. And but I'm pretty sure that it is going to be that final. So we'll talk about it next time. And we'll see if we eat our words or not, if we were correct.
if it is, I'm gonna get the Neptune meme and just point to us. You
You're dog shit.
shit. Dude. Yeah. There's just so many storylines. I mean, realistically, these phase. So someone has to win 3. So
Yeah, that's the only way that I can see it going. Again,
someone
I
has to win
just
3.
yeah, the gap from them all year was just so big.
Yeah.
You know, no one really could touch them. Like I know Surge could at one point, but again, from Major 4 and then going into this now, I think it's pretty clear that that's how big of a gap we've got.
I like last thing. I wonder. Like I think the answer is COD Champs, but what is more important to them, winning COD Champs or EWC? Like if FaZe wins COD Champs, these like you take that. We'll take the bigger bag for first place at EWC.
Yeah, because I don't think
it doesn't feel the same.
Yeah, because you haven't heard people really talking about EWC like that, where they say like, "Oh, phase 1 EWC," but when people are going to talk about those players at the end of the day, unless there's a change and as the years go on, and they're like, he's got 2 rings, he has an esport World Cup. Like if that's something that people start saying, then I can see it. But most people base how good someone is or their legacy off of the rings, and it's just
and EWC isn't within the season. Like
it's a little weird. I think it's an insane one to win, of course. Like it's legendary, but if they had the choice of winning one or the other, I'm sure they would take COD Champs.
I would agree, because everyone makes EWC.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be way cooler though if you had like all 12 teams from the CDL, and you're going up against like every other like region.
Oh yeah,
and you all just fight to for first.
Yeah,
or you take like the top 3, top 5 from like each region, and of course the US will win, but because we just have the best players. But that would be cool.
Yeah, no, that would be sick. Maybe in the future they could do it. I don't know. I mean, I'm always like, when I see EWC stuff, like, it is exciting, but again, it's just, it's still a weird event to me. It almost doesn't feel real that it's like actually a thing, just because again, the delay from the regular season, and to know that this is a one-off event that these guys go to, it feels very disconnected.
I see the vision. The vision's there.
It's
they have to change it up like a little bit, because it would be cool if we did like every region, like you take all the Canadian players and put them on a team, and like the top 4 US players, put them on a team, and then top European players, whatever. Again, the Americans will win.
Would shit on them all the time,
but it would be great to see. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, they'd have to figure out some way to balance that out. Or the Canadians and the Germans and everybody other country could just get really good at COD. We need more French phenoms.
Or you just don't do a standard tournament. You do like a Champ Hill style thing with that would be insane. I'd watch that. That'd be awesome.
That would be sick. Though, like little things like that would be fun if even they did those throughout the year. You know, I remember they did that back in MW 2019. Come to think of it, they did like a face-off thing. It was like like they were playing on that one map that was like it was like a gun course kind of a deal. Yeah, that was super cool. Just doing 1v1s against all each other. I don't know why. Again, I still don't know why they don't do stuff like that anymore.
I know. Like I have fun with it. They should do that at like the All-Stars and whatever.
We got to write them a letter, bro. Give them all our suggestions.
Do prop hunt.
Exactly.
Like, something insane like that. Michael Myers. That would be
with the CDL teams. That would be fire. I'd love it. I'd watch the shit out of that.
No one would be able to get Shotzzy.
Yeah. he would be dominant, bro.
Dude, yeah. But yeah, I mean, we yapped a lot about good stuff though.
It was good stuff.
A lot of good Call of Duty and just like gaming stuff in general.
Of course.
But yeah, like you said, we're hopefully we were right about Atlanta FaZe winning COD Champs, so congrats to them. Let us know if they did win or not. And let us know too, like how the event like actually went. What you guys like thought about it? Because I know you and I are going to be watching, and it will be a good one. Hopefully.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fingers crossed it's a good event.
Yeah. But yeah, Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Leave down in the comments below too. Like, what do you think about the 9 to 5 to like gaming conversation is? Because I'd like to hear everyone's take, because it's gonna be like one-sided either way. I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, it's hard to be in the middle on that conversation, you know?
Yeah, you gotta be really open-minded and level-headed. I think the only way to do that is if you are an adult, you've worked a normal job, and you've transitioned like full-time to, full-time content creation.
I think
that's the only way.
Yeah, I think that's a 21 and older. You need to answer that, or almost like maybe 24 and older.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're 19 and you're gonna write about that, brother, I don't want to hear it.
I think if you work like I'm not gonna say real job, but like an 8 hour, 40 hours a week.
40 hours a week. Yeah, you're working a full-time gig.
Full-time gig, and then you actually went full-time content. Then you get it. Then you can't be biased at all.
Right.
But yeah, and we're also on anchor.fm/the COD Casuals. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. And we also post on TikTok and Instagram Reels. So if you want to listen to the whole thing, we chop it up and post it over there. And make sure to leave a 5-star rating on all of our platforms, especially Spotify, because it helps us out a ton. But yeah, I think that's it.
And that's it, bro.
Yeah. So thank you, everyone. This has been episode 228 of the COD Casuals. We're your host, Justin.
And I'm Mike.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Take it easy, everybody.
See ya.